Here, so we get this expansion of Stryker's ability. So he's held here, but his arm's able to separate, and he welds through his holdings. But he also, his arms, he sacrifices one of his arms, and he creates, this is really cool, he creates 2 other guns and a bow for blood bow. AKA Powders, welcome to one of my favorite books of the early Image era. Codename Strykeforce. It's Stryker. He's already a member of Cyberforce, but he's also the leader of Codename Strykeforce. They're mercenaries, they're for hire, and they're coming to Top Cow Tuesday. So everyone get ready. I can't wait. I love this book. Let's go. What is up, my AKA Powders? A little bit of a show note, channel update, and welcome to the channel, by the way. Peter A DeLuca here, AKA Pad69. Stay with me, known throughout Philadelphia, PA, Europe, and the vast multiverse. Known throughout the Top Cow universe as the Eclectic One. Back to that channel update. So I've been pushing pretty hard to do a 8 a.m. and an 8 p.m. drop. I played with the idea of 9 a.m., 9 p.m. drop. For whatever reason, I just like an a.m. and a p.m. drop because it just allows me to give you guys my regular comic book content. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys, you know and I know this is the best comic book review channel on YouTube, period. We go into the dirt, we get into the nitty gritty, and I'm sorry, we're enthusiastic because we like comics. So the reality is, analytically, my drop time should be 2 or 3 p.m. or 6 or 7 p.m. We're going to be doing that. We're going to follow some of the analytics. I also debated a 6 a.m. drop and a 9 p.m. drop, so we will get that 6-9. If my other strategy, if this upcoming strategy doesn't work, maybe we'll just do 6 and 9 and make ourselves happy and all have an inside LOL. With all of that, people, this is a major book. And by major book, I mean, holy crap, did I enjoy going through this again, going through these first 3 issues. We're withholding issues 4, 5, and 6. Part of the back and forth was, do I do like a block of Codename Strykeforce and a block of Stormwatch, but kind of matriculate some of my decisions and reviews for Cyberforce and Wildcats for the 2 respective companies, because you guys know Wildstorm Wednesday is coming tomorrow. This is a lot of the content direction, and if you're looking at things from a historical standpoint, there's a lot of debate. We paused at issue 3 because I do want to focus on the Codename Strykeforce Stormwatch crossover that happens, that starts with issue 4 after these 3. So we're going to hit the drawing table. We will get into some of these characters. We'll get into the big bad over here. I hate that term. I hate when people say big bad. Like, what are you, a child? And yeah, and just enjoy everything in front of us. Brandon Peterson is our artist. He comes in so strong with these 3 issues, and there's a lot of Silvestri-isms, there's some Jim Lee-isms. Maybe at the time we would classify it as Homage Studio-isms because the layout of these 3 books is highly influenced by Wells Portacio. And we also get a purposeful art direction in Codename Strykeforce during this time. What is that exactly? What's a purposeful art direction? The books are blue, they're brighter, there's more white, there's a clear tone separation between that and Cyberforce. If you were to pick both of them up on the comic book stand at the time and flip through them, your brain would pick up the difference, and that is strategic. It's a great decision by Marc Silvestri and everyone else involved at Homage Studios, or the beckoning, the coming Top Cow Productions. I thoroughly enjoyed that point in these books because a lot of my background, my 9 to 5, my freelance background is graphic design, web design, layout assistance. I help individuals and companies, big and small, scalable companies, all of that fun stuff, giant corporations, all of it. I work with as many different people as possible. Just because I can't say no. And I know a lot of these self-help guys that wrote some of these books back here like to say, you grow when you learn to say no. And I say, well, then you learn nothing when you learn to say no. But no. And there's a side of me that feels like it needs to be spoken about when we see clear art direction, the clear separation of art direction when it comes from one title versus another. Individuals like Todd McFarlane and Todd McFarlane Productions, those art directions they're all the same. You can kind of just like cut and paste the art direction from book to book. Not exactly what a publisher should do. And there's other ideas about these books that are like kind of coming to fruition. We already see a break in not having a chief editorial like publisher or EIC, like someone like a Joe Quesada, a Jim Shooter, for example, someone to kind of have a strong arm and work with the editors to get the most out of some of these books. We do not see that in early Image, or more likely any Image at all. Now, that doesn't mean that a lot of these books don't have they don't have editors, they don't have people working on them. They do, but the editor's role during this time of Image Comics throughout everything, I'm even talking about Rob Liefeld and Extreme Studios, it's pretty slim, and it suffers. And you kind of want to say that some of them were punished by the Jim Shooter era. A lot of the reasons why they could be leaving Marvel is some of those policies that were very successful during the Jim Shooter era. Comic book publishing is a weird business. It's an ego-driven business, not so much of a talent-driven business. But we give a lot of credit to these early Top Cow books and these early Wildstorm books because they are new companies. They are discovering new talent, like guys like Brandon Peterson here. And these guys are coming in at a near pro level, while also the rest of the book is kind of like the tide for that is rising. We're getting better ink, we're different inking, because we're using more fine liners and more pen nibs to get more of that cross hatching and more of those thinner lines. So that's another point when we go through the artwork of these books is artwork overall pre-Image was thick brush and feathering, and then it went from thin line and cross hatching. So, like a generation had to catch up pretty quick, and Image was just hiring nothing but new people who didn't know the old methods, that only practiced with the new methods, and they were hiring these people very quickly, rolling them into books that were, going head-to-head with the X-Men, going head-to-head with anything DC was publishing at the time, anything anyone was publishing at the time, and it's very commendable. There's a side of me that kind of wants to argue against everyone that bashes, like a lot of this work, because, you have to take these things into perspective, into context, and you should be able to form a different opinion once you understand, like what the different compartments are. We're not with that, and with the internet age, they love to rage hate these books and these titles and these creators. I think so much of what they do is commendable. There's a lot to learn, and believe it or not, these books are fun to read. There is a through line with these titles. There is a through line here. Some of this goes 2 years into the future, and hopefully with this channel you're seeing some of that, because I wanted to focus on what some of these arcs were. So many individuals, again, on YouTube, they will do, here, let me show you Killer Instinct, and they do a 7-minute video on Killer Instinct. When we do a Killer Instinct video, it's 2 hours. And the reason is, not with some of the supplemental material that I add, you have to bring in the industry, you have to bring in some of the influences, and believe it or not, here we go. Even with this stack, see, we have 3 issues here. The stack's going to grow, and that's becoming a theme too, because there's things of note to highlight. I don't know how you do a comic book channel otherwise, or when you discuss something otherwise. You need to, start building a comic book library piece by piece, and you build it up to say something. You just don't aimlessly go into a comic shop and buy dollar books. You purposefully build a collection to explain something, and that's what I feel like. That's our strong suit here at AKAPAD. So people, let's get into Codename Strykeforce. It's a through line. It's a straight story. I enjoyed it. Let's go. AKAPADers, coming up for Wildstorm Wednesday, I'm going to be doing the Art of Homage Studios. This is a great documentation where it just you get to see how close Top Cow Productions and Wildstorm Productions were at one point, because they shared a giant office space. But I kind of stumble on this reference. So this might have been like the first time we ever saw Strykeforce in like full force. And Silvestri here says, this is actually my first rendering of Strykeforce as a group. The little guy in front is Black Anvil. My twist on the team, big guy, he's not even 5 feet tall, but he's at least that wide. Yeah, when I was recording issues 1 through 3, I couldn't think of where I read this. This is where I read it. Just wanted to be clear. People, we correct ourselves as we go along. Just wanted to say that. Alright, AKAPADers, welcome back to the drawing desk. It's been a messy week. Off screen here, there's literally a pile of work here, and then there's like a pile of work here. So we have limited space, and you might ask yourself, Pete, why do you put yourself through this? It's because I'm compelled. I have to do these things. So let's get out of here. You guys know Batman Forever, Batmobile, the greatest Batmobile design in history, and Crypt. Crypt is our mascot. He is always with us at this drawing table. Side note, guys, get good with taking notes and writing down ideas. This is my, pretty much like morning journal and late night journal too. And cheers. So we're going to start with issue 14 when we discuss Codename Strykeforce. And why is that? Because this is roughly year 2. Top Cow is Top Cow and Ballistic Studios is in full range, and no longer are they associated with Wildstorm Productions. And the reason why we jump ahead in 2 years, because we will see that there's a talent search. One of the individuals discovered in that talent search is Michael Turner. I would say at this point, the more I look at Michael Turner's work, which is in the first 13 pages of Codename Strykeforce issue 14, guys. This we're dealing with Turner, and Turner really, he became seminal, became known, became a standard when it came to drawing women. He drew Witchblade, and because of that, Witchblade literally went through the roof. Witchblade took over comic shops. In contrary, very much of the bad girl thing happened with Gen 13, J. Scott Campbell, Jim Lee, and Wildstorm Productions. It's funny to me that both companies had both like girl empowered books, we'll say. But in this issue, we get some Michael Turner showing up, and right here, see. Just speaking of Witchblade right there. So we get some Turner, but in the final pages, we have the return of Death's Angel. So issue 14, like it's a really good payoff if you're into issue 1. And this is the dealer incentive issue 1. So there's a couple of different names for this. Some people call it navy embossed. Some people call it black embossed. I believe there might even be a gold one or a white one. But this is, it's paper. It's pressed paper. And, guys, only the top cow ballers have these. So, with all of that, moving on, we will be addressing Voodoo's rubber arm here from Wildstorms, from Wildcat 6. Okay? Why? Well, because we're thorough and we're anal here. I would like to make a note that this is not yet, we're not yet to Cyberforce and Codename Strykeforce opposing forces. This is way down the line. Okay? And I'm putting this out there right now because I feel like some of you, based on what I heard the AKAPAD army scream at me, you're a little confused with this. So we will be touching on that later. And speaking of later, we will be referencing Cyberforce 0. We will be referencing just a random issue of Cyberforce. I chose issue 2. We will be referencing X-Men number 7. This is our initial story thread. Codename Strykeforce 1, 2, and 3. And as always, because we cannot let it go, we have Wildcats 1 through 4, our trade paperback here. And I'll just say this right now, like, we will make the comparison, and we'll find them. It's our boy here, Hellspont, right? So it is a long criticism of mine that a lot of the issue with these years, maybe outside of Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane, they had really good villains. They just did villains that, I don't know, you felt the villainhood. And yeah, we can even argue, like, Crypt comes in later for Extreme, becomes a great villain. But a lot of the flat out issue here is the villains don't connect. And we see like a theme between Death's Angel and Hellspawn here. They're kind of like giant purple, big capes, cybernetic parts. And, you know, Hellspawn's a really good design with that flaming skull headpiece here, right? But it just still doesn't connect. And Hellspawn is one of Jim Lee's best villain designs. Even through the colors, I will always reference the purple, the gold, the teal, the dark blue. It's so wild. It really is, in my opinion. It's just a wild design. And you kind of like, you see it shown off. And by that I mean, you know, kind of like wherever the panel is that the character is posed in, it just works. It just works on this, like, see what I mean? Like a really high level. So Death Angel falls in line with that as well. Okay, but Death Angel, and let's get to his revelation here real quick. I want you guys to kind of see our boy, right? A little bit of how they play him in these 3 issues is, for lack of a better term, it's very Austin Powers. They later make references that they don't know what the you know, his minions here, which really should be colored a little bit like him. I never liked the green and the yellow for the minions, we'll call it, or for his soldiers, his disciples. Never quite liked it. I don't know why. I just think we should have had some of the blue and some of the purple and some of the silver incorporated to some capacity. Death's Angel, he just doesn't resonate because they kind of don't take him seriously. They treat him a little bit like an Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, where later in issue 3, they don't know what the mission, what the plan is, and they literally hijack a 5 football field length nuclear sub. That's the plot here. So this guy's going to steal a sub, and these guys are going to stop the sub. And You know, some of this, you could be asking yourself, Pete, like, you talked very highly of this before. And I know some of my AKA padders were excited when I recommended that. But we get, like, Cyberforce, and Cyberforce flows very nicely. And I think it has better storytelling. It has better panel to panel. But a lot like Wildcats, Cyberforce suffers from, you know, if you want to say one is overstuffed and then one's not stuffed enough. And some of it is really what your palette is and what entertains your brain. This story, these 3 issues, it's a nice, clean, fun through line. It's just fun to go through issue to issue, page to page, panel to panel. Cyberforce and Wildcats at this time, they just put a lot in it. They put a lot into the pot. And you have to give it time. You really do. As a kid, I was drawn to Strykeforce, and I was drawn to where we end up here with Stormwatch. Because, you know, this is why we're only going up to issue 4 and not issue 5 or 6. Because, yeah, we're going to be doing another crossover very soon, as advertised in, where's issue 2? Right here. So we're going to get Codename Strykeforce takes on Jim Lee's Stormwatch, Marc Silvestri here. And then here we have, look, Stormwatch, Aegis Entertainment, Codename Strykeforce, Top Cow Productions. So we're really deep in Jack Kirby right here. R.I.P. Everyone did their Jack Kirby tributes. But we're kind of like Top Cow's emerging now as a company that quickly in less than a year, and then the pulling, right? Like we're Wildstorm is pulling away from Top Cow, never to kind of come back, which is also very odd. When we discuss these things, we're going to get into the rubber arm, and we're going to just start the freaking story here. A good thing we have X-Men number 7 here as a reference. Let me get that here. And here we go. Who's our crew? And cheers to everyone. Thanks for hanging out. We have Killraiser, who is our Snake Eyes. Not a Wolverine analog. Snake Eyes analog. He doesn't talk. And we're dealing with a generation. This is the VHS TV generation. So a lot of the 80s is still resonating, still echoing. And then Predator, Aliens, RoboCop. These are the movies in these books. Killraiser, Bloodbow, Tempest, Stryker, and Black Anvil. Now, previously in, I want to say, yeah, and then also before we get into everything, we'll be discussing a Wells Portacio clear influence in the layout, the paneling, and the storytelling. So let's just get into our cast of characters. Previously, Marc Silvestri, I couldn't dig it up, and I have it around me. He made reference to his approach for Black Anvil was the opposite of what we got with kind of like the X-Men team formula of how do we visualize the team. So we would like often get a big guy in the background, someone in the mask, right? Someone in the mask, someone sexy, okay, someone that looks like the leader, okay, yeah, little pass there, someone that looks like Wolverine. So that's kind of the X-Men formula. Codename Strykeforce breaks a little bit of that formula because we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're 2 characters less than what we normally get. But when we have 7 characters versus 5 characters for a team, believe it or not, the readers know that sends 2 separate messages. 7 characters means big team, bigger adventures. Smaller characters mean smaller team, smaller adventures. Maybe more covert, which fits the name, codename Strykeforce. So Black Anvil was supposed to be like short and wide and not big and wide, okay, or big and massive. And yeah, it's a direct commentary on a lot of the things that we had common back in the day, and this boy is MVP for issue 3. So we start with the flight. We start with some beautiful blue, beautiful white border background, a lot of negative space. We got some nice looking pilots here, and these guys are inbound to this Gorbachev over here. They're launching and opening up the sub. It's like sub day over here. And Stryker is our bodyguard, the Secret Service. Everybody doesn't like him. And our boy over here this is Bill Clinton. He calls him Bill, references Democrats, all of it, right? There's also a question of your fee. Although the missus insisted you'll be hired, I don't know we can afford the $10 million bodyguard. And he goes, he makes a joke about the IRS. If you ever seen the movie Armageddon, a lot of the movies made jokes like that. Yeah, right. He thinks I'm kidding. So, yeah, and Stryker. So, we begin very much like how we begin Cyberforce. Stryker in a trench coat with a hat. Why do you might say he's got 4 giant cybernetic arms? What are we doing here? This is so much of a comic book trope. It just fits and it's fun, and you just go along with it. We have our Killer Instinct preview here, or ad, and we have Icarus. So a lot of this, I mean, even see this in Youngblood Zero with Link. Link gets nuked in Youngblood Zero. That was discussed in interviews and hyped at the time. Icarus here, I'm not 100% if they hyped up that there would be a major death in Strykeforce, because Icarus is not on the cover. Icarus, yeah, we get attacked. We get these like ships, and yeah, bunch of nice pose. Look at this, and there's so many. And thanks to Joe Chiodo here, Joe Chodo, his highlights for these 3 issues are fantastic. A lot of red to yellow highlights, but everyone gets deployed. The war starts. Stryker is protecting Bill, and during all of this, he's calling to Icarus. He's like, you need to get your butt over here and do your job. He goes, look, no can do, Chief. These scum are killing innocent people. I can't stand by and let that happen. And then he gets nuked. And this is a little bit of a inner image trope. Just like with Link, with Youngblood Zero. And let me see, we're going to pause that real quick, because I do want to make this point. My apologies, everyone. So here's Youngblood Zero. I made the reference of Link. Link is here, but Link later comes back. But you see the design of Link. But that's not who dies in this issue. Battlestone, the original leader of Youngblood, accidentally kills this guy, and his name is Gamble. But he doesn't have, Gamble here doesn't really have, like any type of design that makes him stand out. Like, see, here's one of the evil mercenary soldiers that Youngblood is taking out. Nice Rob Liefeld riff there. And he just blends in. He blends in with the entire background. So that's a little bit what I mean about a little bit of an image trope, where these characters were introduced to get knocked off, and they layer the stakes, and it's a great technique. It's a great thing. We see it all over the place, but it's beyond me that they don't add design or color to the people who are getting offed. And there's no, look, these are new companies. They're not planning that far ahead very well. I think they're going issue by issue very well, but as in like EIC, and there's no editor-in-chief, okay? There's no EIC planning when it comes to long-term. Both, it's a failure on the production houses. These 2 characters needed better designs, and they needed to be on the cover to get the impact of when we get blasted through the chest. But then we get this awesome revelation here of Death's Angel. It's plural. and it's a great introduction. You know, he comes off of his little dropship, gives orders. He's got some hostages. They're cooking. They're ready to go. But I do like a little bit of Stryker's not remorseful over the death of Icarus, because they're all about the mission. They get hired to do something and they complete the task. Now, that doesn't mean that they're particularly hired to do the rest of this mission, because they go on a submarine chase. But look, in my line of work, you stay alive by doing your job. There is no learning by your mistakes. Is the business mistakes kill you. In this business, mistakes kill you. The president was abducted. I did my job. Sorry, kid. Like, really, like, stark stuff. But again, very, like, I just want to say, very by the book, very RoboCop. It does fit the character. This is consistent with a lot of the Stryker we see in Cyberforce. But then we get our crossover image news girl, and we get these really nice spreads here. So a lot of this, Brandon Peterson, who does a banger job, just as a name you may not have known at the time. He does a lot of spreads that sell the action, the atmosphere, everything that's happening. And he's using 2 pages. Again, Image Comics highly ridiculed at the time for that practice, but he adds panels. And this guy's like, hey, I gotta go tell the boss some bad news. And it's my turn. I hope he doesn't kill me. And he goes, if he gives me my severance pay, and severance pay is he severs the head, and he goes, deal with this inconvenience quickly, or you will be collecting your severance pay. So it's a little bit of a joke that runs throughout the 3 issues. We get, again, like, really nice establishing shots. Like, this is good stuff here, okay? And this sells what we're doing at the time, meaning we have better paper, we're doing digital coloring, and we were able to sell things within the comics a little bit better. And you even see that, you know, like, it is clear we are underwater. Like, look at the, again, we know he's on the control deck, and there's a glass dome over top of him. Like, look at the plug-in effect here. Again, really nice stuff. And then we get into, you know, a little bit of, and this is going to pay off in issue 3. He has babes. He has to be left alone for 47 minutes. He actually says 47 minutes. He's going to do his work with the babes, and they're kind of, we see them have chains, so they're slave babes, and yeah, we don't like that. So the issue ends. Next issue, Kaboom, which is the submarine honing in on the approaching aircraft. Tempest is worried. Stryker is not worried, and they get 2 torpedoes, surface to air or aqua to air missiles, subterranean missiles coming at them full force. Also, Killer Instinct tore 3rd leg, so they're still pushing Killer Instinct, advertising Killer Instinct. Let me get into issue 3. So we're going to get into the Marc Silvestri or the Wildstorms reference real soon. So if you notice one thing, right, there's a lot of white. We're dealing with a lot of white borders, and the overall tone of these 3 issues is bright. I feel this is a direct, commentary on separating this book from what we had in Cyberforce. Okay, you see, Cyberforce, we're running everything to the page. We call that full bleed. Sometimes, sometimes we're getting it, but even here where we have negative space, it's a darker tone. And I feel that we get a little bit of like the Wildstorms method here. See what we have here in Iron Man Heroes Reborn 1. I just pulled this because this is just a great example of Portasio really using, like, he uses not the entire page, but the printed page. And he just, gets you to kind of focus your eye. Because, like, maybe you'll need panels here. Like, you need to kind of tell the story. And it's a approach that really isn't that popular when we talk about the artists adding value to their work from a publisher standpoint. But even on this page, we are just dealing with
like common diagonal flow dialogue. And even these balloons kind of with his feet are on the edge, because this is a great moment for Tony Stark. We hit the end of the page, and it tells us to turn the page. So I feel like these layouts, Will Spartacio came into the room and helped them a lot. But yeah, so we get the team. Tempest is using her power. She is diverting. Tempest can kind of control the winds in the air. She diverts the nukes coming for our guys. She flies out. Like Stryker is misogynistic. He makes a comment. Tempest, listen up. We don't have the armament for the shields to stop those missiles. Get out there, sweetheart, and do your thing, cause they ain't going to let us pass just because one of us is a woman and the other one is good looking. And she's like, jerk. But she saves their lives, does their work. And Death Angel is just saying fire, fire, fire. And they fire more torpedoes, aqua to air missiles. And these guys are like, we are in trouble. This is where we learn that Killraiser doesn't talk. But I love Black Anvil's design. He is just so much fun on the page. And again, we get this Will Spartacio mega white background. And we see that the torpedoes pop open and we get our same guys from issue 1. Like this is a good, right? Like we can follow this. Similar colors, similar tones. We know they're the same guy. We don't even have to be told that they're the same guy. That's solid, solid, solid. We go back underwater. Stryker and Tempest find a little hatch. And look, we get, just so you guys know, we get into the sub multiple times during all of this, and none of it makes any sense. But they find a hatch. They have our aliens, little baby welders, and they break it open, bust open. This is a great shot. Stryker, look, they kind of, right, they have their template here, but she welds a perfect circle. Okay, and Stryker is like, hey, there's 4 guards against 4 arms. Seems almost unfair for the guards, and he drops down and blasts them. But look at Joe Chiodo's, again, yellow, orange, red highlights here. He does this throughout these 3 issues, and it works so well every single time. He nukes everyone, gets away. This panel here, look at that. Look at that silhouette. It is too good. No captions needed, but yeah, Stryker makes his way through. And our air battle now, which this could have a little bit more blue, because we get confused here. So this is good and brilliant, and then we have this, which is bad because we need some blue to remind us that we're in the sky, and they just deployed the Gatling guns. And so they make a good note. They're saying that our controls are dampering. We're losing control, but we're armored, and they must be using these types of bullets. We're losing all of our defense weaponry. They must be using titanium rounds or something. So, like, again, it's really good detail. It's procedural, military fiction, but it works. And again, this is a lot of the stuff that we saw in the movie Aliens, that, again, the VHS film era gets inside of these books. But look at this shot, though, of Black Anvil stepping out of the I guess the Hellfire craft here. Hellfire, I mean, is lit up. But yeah, he jumps out, and we go, look, we get more of those yellow highlights. And we all know really how this happens, but he jumps out. He clumps a lot of the flying evil soldier guys together. And keep in mind, blue. See, no blue. We need indicators. And then, he makes his way back onto the flying ship, and they do a fastball special and Killraiser. And then somehow they catch up to him because they're speeding. So they do the fastball, like they throw him, and then they catch up to him, and Black Anvil's able to grab him by the arm. And then the guy with the bow and arrows finally gets to work and kills the last 2 guys. For Blood Bow here, though, look at that I love this panel. I don't know why. Look at the hair, the arrow like marking. It's too good. The shadows. Yeah, and then here we go. Our X-Men 7 reference. I told you guys this comes up time and time again. This is why we pick X-Men 7 as one of our top Jim Lee books, because we get more of the containment our containment cuffs for the hands and feet, because this is how we like to capture superheroes in the 90s, and we'll see more of that next issue. But yeah, and finally, so we're 2 issues in, we're at the end of issue 2, we finally get like a good look at, you know, Death's Angel and what's the deal with that. So, and then we get a wonderful, the layout for this is great. I love the juxtaposition of the Tempest's face and Black Angel's or Death Angel's face. But yeah, we get some good banter, a little bit back and forth. Stryker always has something to say to someone, so he gets knocked out. And then Tempest is, you know, trying to destroy the guidance systems of the missiles that they just deployed. She's doing that here. And, you know, kind of does it off panel, but we see that she, you know, she's successful. Our boys don't blow up, and then they have to dive into the ocean now and also get aboard. And they mention being wet because their ship is so porous. There's no compression in this. No one watched The Abyss. You know, they're watching James Cameron's Terminator 1, 2, and Aliens, but they're not watching The Abyss, because they don't learn about compression. But yeah, we get this. And then next, an even bigger kaboom. And then we have our Doctor Strangelove reference. But we see that all of the, you know, all of our boys here they're contained, they're captured, right? Look familiar. And then we're going to get a good note. So when we get back to this fantastic cover, by the way, we see that by the time we get to our spread in issue 3, everyone's in different, you know, they're held differently. They have the, you know, like Killraiser has a whole, you know, Hannibal Lecter cybernetic cell, and, you know, in the meantime, though, they blow up another ship. So throughout the course of this, they nuke, I think, like 7 to 8 ships. So they're just destroying the Navy with the submarine. But we kind of, you know, now we have the, I love logo name introductions. Death's Angel, and he just makes a reference that we, since we've captured you, we modified your, you know, your holdings to target your power specifically. And this is, you know, this is like, we see this even in the X-Men movies where, you know, they perfectly know how to hold Magneto and stuff like that, right? Big time superhero trope. So we get this expansion of Stryker's ability. So he's held here, but his arm's able to separate, and he welds through his holdings. But he also, his arms, he sacrifices one of his arms, and he creates, this is really cool, he creates 2 other guns and a bow for blood bow. And look at the halo effect here. Like, isn't this really cool? And we get that wonderful yellow highlight. But yeah, Black Angel and Tempest, we have our down Wolverine in the sewer shot, famous now, John Byrne from the X-Men, later refamous by Wolverine, Psylocke, Gambit in X-Men. Thank you, Jim Lee. But yeah, we need this shot for some of our teams as the teams break up. Black Angel just goes around knocking people out. Black Angel really comes through. We just see that he is a force to be reckoned with. Stryker finds Death's Angel. They start to fight. We're going to get to that real soon. And then now Black Angel needs to go back outside, and he uses the attached sub as a back door. They reference it as a back door. Kind of cool. And he needs to find, you know, these silo bays. Which one's going to open? Which one has the nuke? Because there's one more nuke left. And, well, we know how that's going to end. So, you know, we get something good. We get this idea that we go back to Cyberforce 0. Because the only reason why our villain here hasn't killed everyone. Okay, it's because he wants to modify their brain chips, their brain box, it's called, and make them work for him. Okay, so he wants to reprogram or deprogram their programming that was deprogrammed, right? Maybe, but he wants to get access to the chip, and he wants to, you know, make them. He wants to turn them. So that's why they're not dead. All that's explained. We even have a Cyberforce 0, and again, continuity. Because if you bought this, you read it, you're like, I like this issue. Well, I need to go find this and buy it and read it. This is why we have continuity. So they go back and forth. We see that Death Angel has a capability. He's capable. And he goes toe to toe with Stryker. Also, an advertisement for Rob Liefeld's New Men 2 Girth. We might be doing more Liefeld here. Not really sure. But yeah, the nuke launches. Everyone gets tortured a little bit more. We get more snarky comments from Stryker. And this is where we get, look, I thought we were going to rob Fort Knox. Yeah. How about ruling the world with an iron fist? And I thought we were going to take over the Baxter building. See, this is where it's a little too, like, head nod, a little too comical. And we are back here. See? Remember when we said that this arm didn't quite look like a Jim Lee arm? Doesn't look like a Jim Lee arm. Looks like a Brandon Peterson arm. But we get Stryker. They carve another perfect circle. Not Stryker. Killraiser and Bo carve a perfect circle. They're able to pin Death Angel against the wall. The nuclear bomb missile ICBM blasts into nothingness. And our boy here is able to, you know, he goes, I don't know what to do. When in doubt, tear it apart. He tears it apart, and you see that the bomb just falls into the ocean, goes ba-boom. Nice sound effects here, guys. Like, if you're following this. Yeah, and then we get, we get this gotcha at the end. Because someone loosened the bolts. Someone loosened the bolts to the escape pod. With the help of our slave women that we saw earlier. Where are they? So it does come full circle. We go back to issue 1, right? Know your issues. So again, like off panel, pretty much, they get rescued by Tempest. They help Tempest kind of do a final gotcha, because he's not dead. But his vessel starts to fill up with water, as and we're going to see him 2 years later, as we already discussed. But it's nice to see that like page 21, issue 3, we go back 2 months. Like if we look at this in real time, and we get like a payoff. We get a payoff, and then with everything that they've done, they made the news. They're mentioned on the news. Professional bodyguards known as Strykeforce, and then. When we talk like wrestling psychology, you need to, or just psychology in general, like you need to build up your characters against one another. And Weatherman here is like, I need Strykeforce. Like I need them. As if like Stormwatch can't handle what Weatherman has coming. It upgrades Codename Strykeforce and it downgrades Stormwatch. But that's going to be our next issue. And then we get this amazing Brandon Peterson, Jim Lee homage for Homage Studios, and it's Battalion. And I guess like the intent for this book is to be a little bit more comical, but he's kind of like WTF because it's not Stormwatch around him. It's Codename Strykeforce. It's a fun cover. But yeah, guys, Codename Strykeforce was a fun, legit book. And you might want to say it's simple and dumb, but I enjoyed it as a kid. I enjoyed it as an adult. I just think it's a good read.